Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. So in this video, we'll continue the work of heat deployment automation, and we are going to launch the whole infrastructure from a script. Uh, so let's get started. So what we need to do first of all, we need to create the file. So let's name it template.yaml. Okay, and now what we need to do is we will basically work with this template. This is from the documentation side, and we'll make the change on this template. So for description, launch a basic instance with zeros image. So here we will launch a basic launch router network. Okay. So we need to add, first of all we need to add the instance name. Okay, so here, so this is the instance name. So the type will be string default. In the default part we will specify the name of the instance. So type here will be string, then default here we will name it instance 1 testing, like this. And if we want, we can use the description, first instance from heat script. Okay, then we need to specify the image ID. So image ID, we'll do the same thing here. Let's copy paste this string. So the instance will be zeros here in our case, and description image zeros. That's it. Okay, image name, and also we need to specify the flavor ID. Flavor ID. We'll do the same thing here. Type string. Default will be m1.nano, the one we are using. And for description, we'll do flavor ID. That's it. We need the key name. All these variables will be used after in the resources section. Okay, if you are wondering what are we doing. Okay, so key name, it will be string. Also default will be my key, SSH key name. Also we need to specify here the floating IP, or floating network IP. We will use type without the default. Okay, floating IP. Let's remove the net ID. Okay, since we will have, I don't know, let's begin with just one instance here. Okay, without the need of adding another one. because I don't have much resources, I can't open my compute node since I've added memory to my controller node. It will make a lot of crashes while working, so I prefer working just on my controller, and it is working a controller node and also a compute node since I have the Nova Compute running here. Okay, so it will launch basically any instance will be hosted by my controller. So I'll just stick to launching one instance. Okay, so let's here floating IP and the resources. Okay, so let's start the work here. So we will have the volume attachment. So we need to specify the volume, and for volume for the volume we will use the OS sender volume. Okay, so let's do wait, I need to check something here. Resources. Okay, we'll have new volume. So this is like the ID of the volume section, and then we will use it after. So new volume. For the type, we will have OS sender volume. Properties, in the properties here we need to specify the size of the volume that we want to be created. So when I launch this script, I need to have the storage node working. Okay, it will be 1 GB. And now we need to cover the network section. So internal net. For the type, we will use the OS Nova, or sorry, Nova for compute. So OS Neutron Net. OS Neutron Net. And we need to specify the properties also, like the volume properties. So for the properties, we need to specify the name, internal network test, internal network test. Okay. So now, yes, internal network. We have the new volume, the internal network. Now we need to add the internal subnet. Internal subnet. Okay, so type will be OS Neutron subnet. Okay. And for properties, we will specify the network ID, the network IP pool address, and we will specify the DNS name server and the IP version. It will be IPv4. So properties. In properties, we need to add the network ID. And we will get the resources. So the resources that we are going to get is this internal network that we just created. Okay, so get resource, and we get this here. Okay. Network ID. We need also to specify the network pool for the IP, for the addresses pool. So let's choose 10.8.1.024, and for name servers, I guess I forgot the DNS. It will be DNS name server. And also the version of the IP version, IPv4. Okay, I will make a double check after in my syntax. So we have the internal net, the internal subnet, and now we need the internal, let's create the router. So it will be an internal router. Okay, so for the type we'll use OS neutron, and here we need to specify the router. Also we need to add the properties. So type properties, okay, so router ID, let's do the get resource. Let's copy paste. I've made a mistake here. Yes. So basically this section, in the creation of the router, we don't need to specify the properties like this, the router ID. So let's remove this. So properties, let me see, I just forgot. We need to add the external gateway, yes. External gateway info network. So here we need to add the ID of the provider. So let's go and source the admin, then OpenStack network list, and we'll take the ID of the provider network. Okay, let's add it here. Internal gateway, internal router. Let's now add the internal interface. Router. Type. So type will, let me copy paste this. But here it will be router interface, I guess. Yes, router interface. Then Properties. So in the properties we need to get resources. So we will specify the router ID. We will do the get resources of the internal router we just created, okay? And also we'll add this subnet. And for the subnet we will get the resources of the internal subnet, this internal subnet. So for the router ID we are getting this internal router that we just created, and for the subnet it will take this subnet we just created with the properties section here. Okay, so now we need to cover the part of the instance creation. Instance, or let's name it instance or demo instance here. And for type, here we need to specify the Nova OS, Nova, and server. We need to add the properties now. Properties. So basically, each instance will have a name, an image, flavor, key name, and the network port. Okay, so let's first of all begin with the name. Properties. I'm taking my time because each space here need to be in its place, because it will cause an error if I will type elsewhere. So name, let's put we need to do the get resources again, since we have specified all this here, if you remember. Demo. So let's do this. Get resources. Get resource instance name. Okay, so for the flavor it will be the same. Let's do like this. Let's copy paste it, and let's image ID flavor, and here we need to add the image. Okay, let's add directly the key name over here. Let's add the networks part over here, where we will add the port here. Okay, very nice. So okay, let's go to the image. Image ID, image. We need to change this by image ID, key name. It will be key name, and for the port it will be the internal port. So we didn't create the internal port yet. So let's create it right now. Let's leave it empty there. Internal port. So the type will be OS neutron and port. We need to specify the properties network ID, and we need to make the get resources of the internal network that we just created over here. So this is the internal network we just created. Get resources, sorry, not there, here. Get resources, oh, get resource, internal net. Okay. And now we add the internal port over here. Nice. So we need to cover the part of the floating IP, so let's create it. Floating IP. Okay, so type, it will be OS floating, or sorry, neutron floating IP. Properties, we'll put the network. So the floating IP will get the IP from the provider network. Okay, so we need to get resources from the network floating IP here. Okay. So properties, network ID, get resource. Okay. So let's go into the floating IP association. So for type it will be OS neutron floating IP association. So OS neutron floating IP association. Properties floating IP, sorry, floating ID. So floating ID will be this floating IP. So we'll use the get resource floating IP port ID, and it will get the internal port over here. Get resource port. Okay. So the floating IP if you remember, when we create the instance, it will automatically get an IP from the internal network, but when we want to use the SSH, or we need to associate the floating IP. So the step of the association of the floating IP will come after the creation of the instance and after the association of the IP uh, from the self-service network. Okay, so this uh, section uh, creation will depend on the internal interface creation and the internal port creation. Okay, so let's add here the properties. Let's add the depends on. Okay, depends on here, internal interface, internal port. Depends on. Let's delete this. And now we will move to the volume part. So since we have created the volume, it was the first thing we did. New volume. We need to make the volume attachment, okay? Demo instance floating IP. Demo, or sorry, volume attachment. So type will be OS sender volume attachment. Properties. It will get the volume ID and the instance UID. Volume ID, instance ID. Let's copy paste the get resources. Okay, so for the volume ID, we just said new volume. Let me check. For the instance UID, it's demo instance. Okay. Now everything is correct here. Instance. I won't be using the outputs. I won't be using this section since we will have the dashboard. Okay. So let's see first of all if let's add the other file. So the other file needs to be so edit variables YAML. So this file will have the flavor ID, the key name, the floating IP. Okay, so if you won't do the if you won't create this file, nothing will work here, because we are making the get resources from parameters that has not been uh, uh, mentioned in the variables .yaml. So we need to specify them over here to make the so that the template.yaml use the variable.yaml as a variable as a source environment file. Okay, so this is the idea. Okay, so let's do this. Let's copy all this section here and we will remove this. Okay, so for the instance name, okay, so let's do the zeros instance here. I want to test something or just the image ID, it will be zeros. Uh, the flavor ID m1.nano. I won't be using this, to be honest. I'm thinking about something. Let's not use it. I'm just testing, okay? We want to be using this. I will just here add a default section here for the floating network IP. Let's go and add this provider ID over here, okay? I'm just testing. I don't know if it works. So instead of making another file to link to be as the environment file, I will specify um the values of each parameter within the template.yaml. Okay, so let's test. Let's go to the orchestration. I'll go to stacks. Launch stack. I need to open the storage node. I'm not very sure. Can I use? Let's just test. Let's copy paste this. Let's do a direct input. I don't know if it will work. Okay. So this is the first mistake. Let's correct it. Floating IP association could not be found. Wait a sec. Okay. The same error. I don't know. In demo instance properties. What? My bad. Okay, oh god. That's on me, sorry. So all these are resources. So these get resources are from this part, and I want to get the instance name using the get resources, but the instance name is within the parameters section. So I need to use the get param, not the get resource. Get param. Also for the flavor, also for the image, and for the key name. Sorry, it's my bad. The internal port was created over here, so we need to use get resources. Let's see, or let's just, if we got another error, it will be automatically from the get param section, the get param condition. Okay, we have another problem now. Error, the specified difference floating IP is incorrect. Floating IP, floating network IP. Let's see this. So this is the parameter. We need here to use the get param. It will work now. Network ID. Resource floating IP properties, and now on network ID. Floating IP. Floating IP. Resources floating IP properties. Network ID. This network ID. Internal net get resources. Network ID. Network ID. Oh, this is floating IP, so it must be floating network. Floating IP. Floating network. Let's see. Another problem, resource floating IP association, floating IP association, floating IP association, floating ID, floating ID, get resource floating. floating IP. I need to see this from documentation. Uh, I need to see about the floating IP association properties. So this section, this part is not being recognized. Properties. Assign a floating IP to. Okay. So basically, I'm missing floating IP ID. Let's hope that's the last problem. Nice. Stack or demo stack. Password for my user, m1.nano. This is the floating network IP from my script. Image name, instance name, my demo instance. Let's launch and test if it will work. And note that I didn't use the variable.yaml file, okay? So this is very important. Very nice. Very nice. This is the router. Let's check the instance. We need to find the demo instance being created over here. Create in progress. Scheduling. Nice, and it's getting the floating IP, okay? So it's a serious image, so the spawning of the instance would be very fast, not like using a Ubuntu instance. So I can basically SSH. Nice. And we can see if config it is getting an IP from the pool we specified on the script. And let's ping the external. All is working and all is up. And we need to check, verify if it is getting. This is the VDB. So this is the attachment that we are that is attached to the instance, and this attachment was made within the script. So the first thing that we did, it is we created the volume using the OS sender. This is the component, and this is the volume. And for the size, it is 1 gigabyte, and as you can see here, it is 1 gigabyte. Of course, it is not. We don't have a file system here. Okay. Uh, and let's go to the volume attachment. So here we specify the instance that we want to attach, we want the volume to be attached to, and we specify the volume ID, which is the new volume. So that's really good. And if you want to see the overview from the dashboard, we will see that the my demo instance is being hosted on my controller. Of course, if I open the compute node and try to launch two instances instead of one instance, it will launch the first one on my controller and the second one will be launched on the compute node. And you can see that it is attached to the dev VDB that you just show over here. Okay, and let's move to the network topology. We will find the new router created and the new self-service network created, all attached to the provider. So this is my old work, and this is the new infrastructure that we just created. So this is the provider, this is the new router, this is the new self-service, and this is my demo instance that we just saw over here. Okay. So note that we are not using a file called variables.yaml if you want to use that. Okay, so we can remove all the default section here. Okay, but why we need to use the variable .yaml file? So for example, if you are using this script and you are working with Cirrus image and with a specific flavor, okay, and tomorrow you need to change the workload, you need to change the Cirrus to Ubuntu, and of course when you change to another image that has a greater size, you need to change the flavor. Okay, so you will need to change the flavor. I don't know if you want to add a new key. So if you will so you need the utility of having the variable.yaml makes the work flexible. So if you won't touch this template.yaml, you will leave it like this, and all the updates will be within the variables.yaml. So in our case, we will instead of using Cirrus image, we just open the variables.yaml, we change the name of the instance to Ubuntu, and we change the flavor, for example, to flavor.m1.medium. Okay, so this is why we need to work with the variables.yaml because for flexibility. Okay, that's it. We can do that. We can do that here. Okay, so just to showcase that to you. So if you want to do, if you want to work with the variables.yaml file, just go here. Let's exit this. Let's create the file first. Variable.yaml. Okay. Let's copy paste it. Then remove the parameters, remove all this, all this. Okay, to be very simple, literally very simple. Okay, so the instance name here, let's see, Cirrus demo. Image ID will be Cirrus flavor ID m1.nano. Key name, my key, floating IP, just forgot. Yes, this is the floating IP network. It will get from the provider, as I said before. Cirrus demo. Okay. Let's test all this. So First thing that we need to do, we need to shut down the instance we just created and then remove all the configuration we did before. If I will leave all this and I will try to launch the stack, the new stack, I will get an error. Okay. I think I need to refresh the page. User. Shut down. Let's remove it. Let's delete the instance. Then I think all this workload will take a time, will take a very long time. So we go to the floating IP. Let's release all the floating IPs here. So this is the router that we created. Let's release all these floating IPs. Okay, let's launch our stack, and if we got the error, I will know where from what is causing the error. Okay, sorry. So this is the, let's copy paste this. We need to remove the default. Okay, let's remove this, 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 and this. Direct input, also here we need to direct input. Let's copy space the variables. Let's see if all is good. Okay, so stack demo again. Here my user, as you can see, it took the variables from my variables file. Okay, and if you will try to launch the stack, stack creation started. Create in progress. too much slow. I don't have much resources, to be honest. To be honest with you, I don't have enough memory. Memcached unknown error. But it is getting created. Sometimes things like this happens. I need to make sure it is working. So this is the Cirrus demo and it is running age 1 minute and it's getting the floating IP. But I don't know from where that error came. So I will check again the network topology and all is working. Nice. This is the new self-service network created in the new instance, of course with the new router. So we created the self-service, the router, and the instance attached to the volume using two methods. First, all the code all within one script, and the second method using template.yaml and another file for the variables. I'm thinking about doing another video of running two Cirrus instances, so that they can ping each other and they must be on the same self-service network. But I will see from comments uh, if if you want me, of course, to do that, I'll do that video. But I think this is good for this video. Uh, I've uh, I've implemented all the heat configuration installation part along with the dashboard integration with the Horizon component of OpenStack. Also, I fixed all the errors that came to me while coding the script. Of course, I used the documentation and some sites to get that script working correctly. So thank you for watching. I hope this video help you in your journey in the OpenStack path, in your OpenStack path. So see you on my next video where I will cover the Swift component configuration installation, so that finally we can have a container running on our infrastructure, and then each node connected, each node that have the access to the Horizon can access that container and take or even download files within the container. It would be like a file sharing system between that will cover all nodes connected to the infrastructure. So thank you for watching and see you soon.